Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Breakfast Analysis. We missed last week because there was no TF2 the week before last week because it was the break between playoffs. Today, I'm eating a everything bagel breakfast sandwich, bacon, egg, and cheese, and drinking just Tim Hortons coffee. I'm actually starving as well. I'm a little bit sick, if you can tell from my voice. Hopefully it's not too bad. Let's see. Oh yeah, I didn't realize that the Tim Hortons that I go to is still doing roll up the rim. So I got a regular, like a medium-sized coffee, and they're not doing it on mediums anymore. They ran out, and somebody in front of me or behind me got a small, and she got the roll up the rim cup. I would have gotten a small if I'd known. So it's been a rough start to my day, but that's okay. Here, I'm gonna move this a bit closer. Actually. There, that might sound a bit better. Nice sell. What's up, my guy? You've arrived just at the start this time, not at the end. Isn't that wonderful? So here we have my predictions going into playoffs. We can start off the actual TF2 talk. This was before I saw anything, and I want to stick to it. And I'll tell you why I want to stick to it. I don't think I should, right? I had Swift above Ascent. This is basically the only thing that anybody's going to disagree on. When they make rankings for playoffs in TF2, because Freitag is so solidly above everybody. Velocity, I don't know. It's weird because they feel like they should be below everybody, but at the same time, like, they have the potential to beat both these teams. So I don't know. I don't think I can justify putting them above 4th, like, at all. But I also am not that confident that they'll get 4th, if that makes any sense at all. But I'm keeping them there in my rankings. And then these two I should probably change. I feel like after that first game, Ascent proved that they were a little bit better than Swift. I don't think it was that decisive of a game. It obviously went to 3 maps. All 3 maps were a 2-round differential. So it was 5-3, 5-3, 4-2, and that last one was obviously on Viaduct. So, Ascent probably deserves to be above Swift in these rankings, but I made a bet with Dreamboat that Swift would make a grand finals and Ascent wouldn't. So I kind of need to stick to my guns here because I don't want to lose my $5. And I'm kind of I need Swift to put out for me. My heart wants Ascent to win. I really do. I want Mela to win. Or at least, make grand finals. I love the guys on Ascent. And the guys on Swift are fine too. I don't have anything against them. But my brain told me to pick Swift before the season or before playoffs started, and that might have been a mistake. Excuse me, still a little sick. Let's get into our first map. We're basically just gonna cover 4 games this week. We're gonna cover in this show we're gonna cover the 2 that happened last week, and then we're gonna cover the 2 next ones to come up. There'll probably be more than 2 games next week, but we're not going to know the 3rd and 4th ones because they're obviously dependent on the first 2. We'll start with Freitag versus Velocity. This is the least interesting one, I'm not going to lie. 2 5-1s here, both Freitag obviously taking it over Velocity. This is really not surprising to anybody. I mean, Freitag are a better team than Velocity. What's up, thy god? This was not that surprising of a match, if we're being completely honest. This one was kind of like, well, Velocity will show up. They barely even made it into playoffs. Freitag have looked so good all season. And in the regular season, to be fair, I think Velocity actually had... Did they do well at all? No, they got 5-0'd both times. Yeah, so there wasn't a lot of hope for them going into this. One thing to note is they did go up 1-0 in both maps. So they started off strong in both maps, but obviously the first one 32 minutes and the second one 37 minutes. I mean, those aren't even long games. Like, for those last 5 rounds, Velocity were just really slipping. They weren't putting up much of a fight at all. And the maps say CB Badlands on ECA, but that's just because ECA is a bad website. It was processed and then Snakewater. So, unfortunate for Velocity, but that's to be expected. Now is when their real tests are going to start, as they come up against the lower level teams. They can make grand finals. They can get second this season. It's just real tough for them. Yeah, there's a couple players on Velocity I wanted to highlight that we don't usually see stepping up for them. In this first map, Pete's a garbage player, but he still managed to get 27 frags and 270 DPM, which is the highest for both on his team. I just like making fun of Pete, by the way. So he did well on that first map. That second map, I don't think he really turned it up in the same way. Yeah, lowest frags on his team and second lowest damage, so that's more to be expected. But, you know, even in the second map, we had players turn up that we don't usually see, like Kryptonite hitting 262 DPM, 263, 28 frags, and he's the roamer as well, I believe. Turbo version 1, that's Showstopper. Yeah. So, that's probably the scammer, yeah. So, that's very impressive for a roamer. Oh, he didn't top damage. And actually, Jarrett was the one who top frag and top damage. But still, you know, Kryptonite doing very well on this map. Jarrett as well. Jarrett's a player that, he's really weird. Sometimes you'll see him just get abysmal stats, but sometimes he really picks it up, and this game is no different. But obviously, if you're playing against Freitag, I haven't looked at Freitag's stats. I've just been talking about how good velocities are, but when you look across the pond, it's really no contest. I mean, Habib, 341 damage, Banny, 335. I mean, it's just disgusting, really. They're about even in frags with Pete, but the damage is so much higher for Freitag, and that's a trend that continues on this map. This time with Banny and Yomps, more so than Banny and Habib, but Yomps bringing it up with 295 damage, Banny also 295. Wow, they got exactly the same damage per minute. That's funny. Who actually had more? They had exactly the same damage, Banny and Yomps. Good lord. That's actually really, really funny. Who took less heals? Banny took less heals. Darn. Alright, well that's still kind of funny. Banny did have 2 more frags as well. But, just very strong showing from Freitag. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about this map, just because it's kind of the most boring one we have to talk about, if we're being completely honest. But, Freitag's pretty good. This one I have a bit more to talk about. Swift versus Ascent. This is the match everybody was waiting for, wasn't it? Look at this. Everybody's just chatting up with this match. 27 comments. Everybody's excited for this game. As they should have been. Went to all 3 maps. The first one was Ascent over Swift, 5-3. Second one on Metalworks was Swift over Ascent, 5-3. And then the last map product was Ascent over Swift, 4-2. If we open up this match page, we can actually take a look at these. They're really like neck and neck teams. And they were in the regular season as well. Interesting that both times they met, Swift was able to take down Ascent, but Ascent were always kind of like in a weird spot when they played against Swift, like, especially if you look at their most recent map, I think on Sunshine, against Swift, this 4-3 game here. Like, this was a very strange Ascent lineup. I think Patty was on Scout, and Corso was on Pocket Soldier, yeah. And that was just a weird time. Like, it's not really surprising when you've got a lineup so messed up that Swift are going to be able to come out on top for that match. And even in the first time they played each other, here in week 1, nope, sorry, that's Velocity, on Granary here, the 5-4, like, Ascent were still doing some weird stuff. Marmaloo had the most heals, which makes me think maybe he was playing Pocket. Patty doesn't have, like, a ton of heal. He's got some. I don't know, it's on Granary, so it's just a weird time for Ascent every time they go up against Swift. And they're a team that have obviously had a lot of problems this season with rosters and trying to figure out what they're doing. Rewind wasn't super kind to them, at least in terms of rosters. It wasn't in terms of the event. They did well at the event. But they just had a lot of roster issues. Just the fact that they couldn't play with their full roster at Rewind. They had to take some other players on, and so they were basically juggling 2 different lineups that they had to coordinate between, and it was just very difficult for them. Good to see that they can actually regain their composure. let's see here. Yeah, Mela's still eating a lot of heals. But this is kind of how they played with Patty as well, right? Mela, 48, basically 4,900 heals received, and he's doing okay for damage, he's doing okay for frags, but not really what you want to see if you're taking that many heals. It's fine because it's clearly working out for them, you know, more or less, and this is definitely how Patty played as well. Patty was much worse than Mela in a lot of ways in terms of eating too many heals, and I wouldn't say that Mela's eating too many here. You know, what matters at the end of the day is the score, not any of these stats, so the fact that they won is good for them. But if we just look back on, like, some of these Ascent matches, in this one, Patty took 5,700 heals, and the next highest was, like, 3,000, that's Nursey, never mind, 2,700, against Running with Scissors in a 49-minute match. Okay. Their match against Velocity week 1, Patty again, just way more heals than anybody else, so it's not too surprising. I mean, it's Pocket Soldier, that's kind of how it goes, unless you're Freitag. So I'm not too worried about that. And certainly, like, these first two maps seem very close in terms of stats, like, for both teams. Let's look at Ascent for the first map, right? 28 frags for Sluminish, 27 frags for Corsa, 26 for Mela. Okay, 8, 7, 6, one difference between them. Sluminish, Corsa, Mela. You go to the second map, 34 frags for Sluminish, 33 for Corsa, 32 for Mela. It's literally just like boom, 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 1, 2, 3, one frag differentiating them both times. And obviously that's not like a super important detail, but it's like it's interesting because Corsa's constantly top fragging, but like these two players, Corsa or Slumnishes, but Corsa and Mela are right there with them. And they're both playing like very well. Interesting that the second time it didn't actually turn out into a win for their favor. Corsa a little bit lower than damage than the other two, which if we look at the second map, isn't really reflected at all. This time it's Slumnish is a little bit lower, but it's always kind of one scout that's kind of lacking on damage, it seems, from these two matches. And then your other two members that are the fragging classes, Podonsky and Marmalou, kind of lagging behind a little bit, at least in terms of frags, but that's kind of what you expect from a roamer and Demoman, right? In normal circumstances, on these first two maps were Gullywash and Metalworks. So that's not a bad thing for them. Podonsky obviously hitting huge damage as well, top damaging in the first map, and in the second map, top damaging as well. So Podonsky definitely putting in the work, and Marmalou, I mean, roamer life is hard, so we're not gonna say too much bad about him. But in the second map, 21 frags and 31 deaths. That's a little bit not great. Marmalou did have probably the biggest change in stats. If there's any player that like stepped down between the first map and the second map, I think it is Marmalou. The first map, he hit very high DPM. Well, you know, fine DPM, 228 and 26 frags. So right up there in frags, like neck and neck for frags, which is probably, well, I don't want to say it's more important for Roamer, but Roamer definitely both stats are very important. And in this one, he's stepped down. He's lowest damaging and lowest frags. You know, he's under Podonsky in terms of frags. So really, just looks like he wasn't having a good time on that second map of Metalworks, which is a little bit unfortunate for him. I'm not sure if he's just not comfortable on that map or what it was, because it's hard to compare things to Viaduct because Viaduct's so different from every other map. But he did seem to pick it up on this map. Well, actually, not really. Now that I take a closer look at this, it looks like he doesn't, just because he's sitting next to Corsa and Slumnish in the stats, and a scout on Viaduct is always going to look fantastic. But overall, like, even out of the, considering Swift as well, Marmalou certainly looked like he had the biggest change between the first and second map. Swift were a lot of the same story, like, even in terms of medic deaths. I haven't talked too much about the medics, but, like, difference was 2 in the first map with Zilly having a couple more deaths, and difference was 2 in the second map with Nursey having a couple more deaths. So medics look very even both times. Bot mode as well, like, if we just look at these players, the first map, bot mode top frag and top damaged, and then the second map, bot mode once again top fragged and once again top damaged. So bot mode's a player I've been talking about for a while. One of the best players on Swift, but every player is so good on Swift. That's like the thing, right? And maybe I hype Swift too, or I hype up Swift too much in my analysis and stuff, right? Because they still lost this match. Like, let's not forget that. But I feel like they have the coordination. and the drive to do really, really well. So, the individual talent's definitely there. I guess it just lets to be seen. AIM not really having a great game on the second map. But again, it's the second map, so their stats aren't super, like, good to be critical of in that sense. Certainly Yite not really picking it up, looks like, on this first map on Gully Wash. Which is a bit surprising, because Gully Wash is certainly a bit of a demo man map. Second lowest damage and lowest frags. Not really what you want to see out of your demo man on Gully, but yeah, we didn't get to watch this match either, so it's hard for me to like really know what went on. The STV was broken, but the other two maps we did get to see, and we can look at Viaduct as well. Excuse me, I just remembered how hungry I am. Like, here, when you look at Ascent, it's a lot more like Mela is no longer taking most steals on his team. He's splitting it fairly evenly with Badonsky, which I like to see because it means that they're like changing their playstyles for the map that's different, right? That's what you want to see, and that's like obviously that's expected from a top team like Ascent, but there's a little bit of worry before the season started just because Mela hasn't been playing with them since a while. That they wouldn't really be used to that, and they might make basic mistakes in that sense, but they didn't. Hey Heaven, hey Metna, what's going on, guys? But yeah, Mela definitely good that he's not taking so many heals. That's like a bit on Nursey as well. But that's kind of what you see on Viaduct. It's pretty much the same story as well on Swift. Like who's taking the most heals? It's the demo man. So that's pretty standard to see. But if you look at these like stat lines, it felt like a really close match. Watching Viaduct, it felt like, oh man, Swift they just got to win 2 more rounds, and they almost had it. But when you look at these stat lines, it seems actually a lot more decisive than I had originally realized. Slonish hit 45 frags, and Corsa hit 38. That's huge. They both had crazy DPM as well, like 350 and 334. You compare that to the scouts on Swift, like bot mode again. He stepped it up in the damage department, 345 and 350. So in terms of damage, the scouts are pretty much the same, but they're only pairing that with 29 frags and 36 frags. Like, maybe if you match up High Five and Corsa, like, okay, they're kind of close, but, I mean, then Bobmode's got to step up to Slumnish, and really that's not happening. 29 to 45 frags is a huge difference, and I think that's a big problem for Swift on this map. Was their inability to get frags with their scouts, but the rest of the players as well. I mean, if you look at, like, Demo Man damage, Badonsky hit 409, Yite hit 286, or 288. Like, that's a crazy huge difference in terms of Demo Man damage. If Badonsky's putting up those kind of numbers, and Yite's only hitting 288, I mean, this kind of stuff is going to happen. They're going to lose. This seems way more decisive than I actually realized watching the match. You can compare roamers as well, like Laz, 21 frags, 250 damage, Marmaloo, 24 frags, 295 damage. Not a huge difference, but again, decisively in favor of Marmaloo, right? Like, it's not like, well, Marmaloo blew Laz out of the water, but, like, yeah, Marmaloo's definitely played better than Laz did in terms of stats on this match. So, the only, like, upside, or in terms of, like, 1v1 matchups for Swift was their pocket play. AIM hitting more frags and more damage than Mela. But that's not enough to carry your team, obviously. And even medic deaths, like Nursey lived 3 more times than Zilly did. I don't know, not a lot to look at there, but yeah, Viaduct maybe not as close as I was originally thinking. So interesting for that match. We'll take a look at the predictions for next time now. Freitag versus Ascent. This is the first match coming up, and this one I'm actually pretty excited for. A lot of people say, Freitag's playing, who cares, I'm not even going to watch, but, like, I feel like every single time there's potential for Ascent, and they haven't found it in a long, long time, but I don't think this is a done deal. Obviously, both times that they played Freitag in their regular season, it wasn't super close. It was a 5-1 on process, and a 3-5 on Badlands. So this last one's a bit more promising for what we're going to see in this match. And certainly, we'd the STV was broken, so we didn't see it on Team Sports TV, but I believe Shade was streaming it. And so, I think basically Freitag went up 4-0, and they kind of started to throw. Like, they didn't throw, but they started playing more risky, like more careless, and they lost a round, and then they were like, okay, let's stop this, let's actually, like, try. And then they still lost 2 more rounds, and I believe Ascent was pushing last to get their 4th round, but they messed up the last push. So, Freitag were able to pull it back after that one little blip in momentum, but I don't think it's over. I don't think it's over for Ascent. Yeah, Rewind Finals. This is a Rewind Grand Final rematch, but the Ascent that played at Rewind was very, very different. So, I don't think that's a really big deal. I don't really want to look at those games too closely because obviously that was 3 different players now because Patty wasn't playing, or Patty's not playing, and then the 2 subs they had in Bor and Saigai aren't on the team, so now with 3 different players in their roster, it's not really good to look at that match, but I think it's pretty clear at this point that new Ascent, in the fact that Ascent with Mela is better than Ascent with Patty. I think I'm gonna make that call. Have wants food, dude. Food is the best part of this show. But I think they are better with Mela than they were with Patty. That's a hard call to make, but like on paper they definitely should be, in my opinion. But we haven't seen too many results. Is the only thing. Is the only reason why I'm hesitant to say that. But I think I'm gonna say it regardless. Let's see. When did they last? I think they stopped. I think it was literally. They only played 1 match before playoffs with Mela, and it was the one against Freitag. And you know, it's always just like, well, he does okay. He takes a lot of heals, and he does kind of meh with them, but he's not like dragging his feet. He top damage in their match against Freitag. He seems like he fits in the team very like smoothly, which is kind of what you expect, because considering he's been like leading the team for so long, at least like from an organizational standpoint, it's not like he's been out of the picture. Like he's still been with the team. I don't know. He hasn't probably been showing up to like all their scrims and stuff throughout the season, but he talks a lot with the players. I know he's got like just even on a personal level, he's friends with a lot of the guys on the team, so it makes sense for him to kind of be able to slide in there. And he's played with a lot of these players a lot before. Maybe not some of the newer guys like Marmalou, but guys like Podonsky and Mela have been playing together for a long, long time. They got a lot of history together, and so obviously they're going to be able to fit in to get with each other pretty easily. So I don't think the swap up's too big of a deal for Ascent. And going into Freitag, I don't know. It's not over. The map pool seems to favor Ascent, actually. Maybe not favor. Favor's not the right word, but it could have been a lot worse for them. First thing, Freitag bans Badlands. Okay, they're not a Badlands team. They don't really like Badlands. Fair enough. I wouldn't say that Ascent is necessarily a Badlands team either, but whatever. Ascent ban Process. It seems like both teams are kind of more picking towards what Freitag like, right? Freitag want to pick the maps that they want, and Ascent want to pick the maps that they think Freitag is weaker on. At least that's what I'm getting from these picks and bans. The first map will be Gully Wash, and I feel like this is just, it's not going to look good for Ascent. Gully Wash has historically been a very strong Freitag map. They did actually struggle, well, they didn't struggle in the regular season, because this is when Freitag was kind of just throwing their games. They had a lot of, like, I didn't watch any of them, but, like, really, they lost 3 rounds to Black Swan. Like, I don't know if I actually buy that that's how that match went down. Especially with their attitude at that point in time. It felt like more they were just kind of taking it less seriously than they were at the beginning of the season, because they were prepping for Rewind still at the beginning of the season. But in previous seasons especially, we saw Gully Wash has like always been a big one. Process has as well, which makes sense why they would ban it first. And then Ascent picks Snakewater. And Snakewater historically, if Freitag loses to Ascent in like playoffs, it seems like it's always on Snakewater. So I think that's like a really good. I want to like go back throughout the seasons. Season 26 doesn't really count because they didn't lose ever. So season 26 is kind of an outlier. And even season 25, I guess here. Yeah, the first map. They only lost one map in season 25 playoffs. What was it? It was against Ascent on Snakewater, 5-1. Like that's decisive as well, right? You go back to season 24. Let's see what's happening on Snakewater. Let's open all the matches where they're losing. Snakewater. Oh, Ascent beats Freitag 5-3. They're not gonna play Snakewater twice in 2 best-of-3s. Snakewater again. Oh, Ascent beats Freitag 5-2. Do they play Snakewater in this BO3? They don't. But you're noticing a trend, right? I mean, Freitag is consistently losing to Ascent on Snakewater, and that trend goes back very, very far. I've been talking about this trend, how Freitag loses on Snakewater for seasons and seasons and seasons, so I don't know why they didn't ban it. I've talked to Freitag a little bit about it, like in past seasons and interviews and stuff, and they don't seem to recognize that Snakewater is a bad map for them. They're always just like, no, I think Snakewater is kind of a normal map for us. We just didn't play well this time. But it's a very obvious trend, and I think it's something they should be a little bit more worried about. So Snakewater, this is a big deal, and certainly a map that Ascent could win. And then ban Sunshine, ban Metalworks, ban Granary. Viaduct is the decider. Viaduct, I'm not going to say is a great map for either team, but Viaduct, no matter who is playing, is always going to be a toss-up match. It's not looking like super great for Freitag. It seems like every time in the regular season that Freitag's playing on Viaduct, it always kind of comes close. And that's sort of just the nature of Viaduct, right? Because, you know, it's so different. It's King of the Hill, obviously. So this season was pretty decisive for Freitag. Especially with a 4-0 against Swift. But if you look historically, like season 26 even, the map where they were so dominant, they did drop 2 rounds to Swift. So that's something in a season where they dropped very few rounds overall. Season 25 as well, this was the season where they almost lost. They went 3-0 down to Faint Gaming, who changed their name to Woodpig Quantum, but not in the regular season, not when they were actually playing. But Faint Gaming almost beat Freitag on this map. So again, I don't think that necessarily means it's a Freitag map or a non-Freitag map. You can see some seasons they like very much struggle against teams they shouldn't on Viaduct, and then some seasons they just blow people out of the water on it. So I don't think it's necessarily anybody's map. I think it's just a coin flip. It's a weighted coin flip because Freitag is still a very good team. Even that match against Faint Gaming, they still won. So it's looking rough for Ascent. But if I had to give predictions, I want to be decisive. I feel like Gully Wash is going to be very decisive. I feel like Gully Wash is going to be like a 5-0 or a 5-1 for Freitag, right? Snakewater. Oh, man. I don't even know if I feel like I should give it in favor of Ascent, right? The numbers tell me I should give it in favor of Ascent. Yeah. We'll give it 5-3 Ascent. I'm not actually that confident that Ascent will win it, though. Just because Freitag have been so dominant this season. And maybe I still don't have enough faith in Ascent. But there's a part of me that really feels like probably Freitag might pull someone out on Snakewater and turn the tides. But we'll see. And then if it gets to Viaduct, probably... I don't know. I'm not going to make a prediction for Viaduct because I really don't know. So this match is going to be very important. I think like in ESEA especially, compared to like other tournaments and stuff, upper bracket finals mean a lot because usually you're just like, well, it's upper bracket finals, you know, whatever. Winner goes into grand finals and loser, they just have to beat some crappy third place team and they'll get into grand finals as well. But in ESEA, the way it works is when you win upper bracket finals, you get a whole BO3 of advantage. So that's like, now you only have to win 2 maps instead of 4. So that's actually a really big deal. It's been a while since Ascent have won this upper bracket finals. I don't know when the last time it would have happened would have been, but yeah, they this would be a very big deal if they could take this one off of Freitag. Then Swift versus Velocity. This is my last thing to talk about here. Swift versus Velocity. This map, I mean, it's harder to talk about stuff because they haven't done map picks and bans yet. They haven't even scheduled their game. Like, we literally don't even know when this one's happening. The other one should be coming up on Tuesday, and we should cover that on TFTV. But for this game, I don't really know. My heart says Velocity, but I think it's probably going to be Swift. Velocity has the potential. That's the weird thing. I don't think they actually will. But, yeah, I don't know. Swift, it just feels like Swift shouldn't be getting last, you know? It feels like Swift are a team that should be getting second, and Velocity should not be getting last, but it's a very, like, real possibility. If we're actually just looking at it game by game, like, if you look at the overall picture, you're like, nah, there's no way that Swift gets last, dude. But they have already lost against Ascent, so now it's just one match that separates them between 4th place. I mean, loser of this game is out in 4th. They go home. The winner goes on to face the loser of Freitag versus Ascent. So, I don't know. It's rough. I mean, both these teams had a lot of close games, especially against each other. I think I counted up. Both of these teams had 6 matches that were one-round games. So only one round separated who won and who lost. Let's see. Here on Velocity. Map against Black Swan. Map against Swift. Map against 8K. Map against Anime List. Map against Swift again. And map against 8K again. So that's 6 matches they played. And then on Swift, match against Velocity. Match against Ascent. Match against Velocity. Match against 8K. Match against Ascent. And match against my Anime List. So, funny enough, neither of those team team had any more one-round matches in playoffs so far. But historically, just looking at the records, this should be a very close game. I don't know if it actually will be, but just by looking at the numbers, it should be. Now, obviously, there's more to a game than just numbers. Depends a lot on how these teams are feeling, and I feel like they're both feeling good. Certainly, both teams want to win this. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but I don't know. Velocity might not have the same like momentum, the same motivation that Swift do. Just because Swift are favored to win this game, maybe it gets them. We'll see though. Again, I wish they had done maps already because I'd love to be able to look at the maps that they've played or that they're gonna play, but we don't actually know. It says Badlands, scheduled for April 5th at 7:30, but that's just the default time. That'd be 9:30 Eastern, it's just time zones. But that's not actually when they're playing, which should be obvious because it's the 8th today and they haven't played it yet. So it's not going to be played on the 5th, but probably Monday, Tuesday, that's what Bear told me, so we'll see. But I think in terms of breakfast analysis, this has gone quite a long time. I was worried that I wouldn't have enough content for this time, because look, there's like 1 page on my Google Doc. But we actually managed to stretch it out for quite a long time, so thank you guys for stopping in and listening to me nerd out about video games. If you want to watch more video games tonight, we're casting ESEA Intermediate Semifinals, and just this morning we sorted out who's going to actually cast it. It will be me and Marxist, with Console doing production. So I'll be there, working on that, and yeah, that should be a fun match. The people wanted it. Marxist inspired the people to come. He told them to come spam me if they wanted people, or if they wanted IM and open coverage, and they sure did. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you on the next one.